Hello, and thank you for joining us. My name is Bradley Butler. I am the Executive Director and Curator at Main Street Arts in Clifton Springs, New York. Tonight's event is a virtual studio tour with Laura Caroline Casas from Raleigh, North Carolina, and Liz Cohen from Denver, Colorado. This event is part of a series of online events in conjunction with our exhibition, The Cup, the Mug. Both Laura and Liz are included in this year's exhibition, which is an online invitational. And as a reminder, this year's show includes 98 cups by 20 artists from 12 states. And I'm just going to give a little intro of each of the artists here. And so Laura Casas is a potter and illustrator from Columbia, North Carolina. Casas graduated, graduated from Western Carolina University in 2018 with a BFA in studio art. Laura now resides in Raleigh, North Carolina, where she is the clay studio coordinator and pottery instructor at the Pullen Arts Center. She operates her own studio practice, Casa Studios, in a rented space at the Carter Building, downtown Raleigh, which we'll get to see shortly. And Liz Cohen is a ceramic artist based out of Denver, Colorado. She received a BA in studio art from Georgia State University and has been working with clay since 2010. Her work mainly consists of wheel-thrown functional ceramic ware, but she also enjoys creating ceramic wall pieces combined with site-specific murals when time allows. Liz currently works out of a warehouse space close to her home. We had the pleasure of hearing from both Laura and Liz as part of this past Tuesday's Artist Talk, which also included Michael Fraser Bridges. We definitely recommend that you also watch that along with other past events on our YouTube channel. Before we get into the tour, I know that you both have a very busy studio schedule, it seems. So what's been happening in the studio since we last saw you on Tuesday? And either one can start first.
Okay. Yeah, since Tuesday, so I'm preparing for my first Friday event at my studio. That's going to be in December, but then right after that, the Saturday right after that, I'm going to have a shop update. It's going to be kind of like my first big one since 2020. I've done little ones here and there and done a lot of gallery sales, but I haven't really utilized my website as much since 2020. So this one's going to be mugs, bowls, bottles, little things, jewelry. I don't know. There's a lot that I'm preparing. And so I'll be showing some of that, the stuff that I'm preparing ceramic wise.
Great, thank you, and we look forward to seeing everything. So, Liz, what's been happening with you?
I've been working on some pre-orders. I had a pre-order for mugs back in November or October. Sorry, what month is it? Last month. So I'm working on. I loaded them in the kiln on Tuesday and unloaded them today and started glazing them. So that, and then I'm also working towards the final update of the year. Done some throwing and drawing. So yeah, just keep chugging along.
Great, and I really enjoyed what I saw from both of you on Instagram of what you're working on. But Liz, I really enjoyed the, when you tap the image and it looks like you're participating in unloading the kiln. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, way to engage people a little bit.
Sure. All right, great. Well, I guess let's get into it. Let's see the studio. So I guess I don't know who wants to go first.
I can go. Sure.
All right, go for it.
Okay. So I'm standing at the doorway of my studio. So I'll flip the camera so you can wait. Oh, yeah, I can flip it. Okay. So here's the doorway. And So this space, my partner and I just moved into in August, so it still has a lot of changing and rearranging to do. But right now, I'll pan around. It's pretty big. I have a lot of space compared to the 200 square feet space that I was in before this. So, and I've also been doing more slip casting as of, well, it's taken about a year for me to get to this point, but I am working on a wholesale line that's all going to be slip cast. So I have some molds here. This table here is mainly for slip casting, placing the molds on, and cleaning up the greenware and that kind of thing. I'll go around here. So these shelves here are going to be used to store green work and this work, in progress work. I've only just started to I have some like scattered all over the studio, but there's some up here, some over there. So this little guy here is a slip mixer. So that's what I've been mixing my slip with for casting. I have the dry materials stored underneath. And around here, this is kind of where I sit to do glazing. And I have buckets of glaze under this table here. And then over here is where I can mix my glazes. I have some dry materials up here, more down here. Sink, which is right next to it, which is handy. It's really nice having running water because my other studio did not. And then these are just wear shelves for finished and in progress work. There's some glaze mixing tools over here on this pegboard and just some other glazes. So I have these glazes on a rolling cart because sometimes I move to this area back here to glaze. This is kind of my like little corner where I do some like carving and decorating, so glazing. So that's why that cart is rolling, so I can move it around. Here's my wedging table and my wheel I throw standing up. So I have my wheel right here. It's really nice. And this is a mirror right here. And then over here is my little slab roller on top of this rolling cart. Where shelves here, but I don't have any wear on them right now. And then this is my packing and shipping station. So these two tables and boxes and stuff like that. And then I'm working on renting out these two little areas that I've sectioned off. So here's one and here's another. So I have a wheel for someone if they want to, if they're a ceramic artist, but I'm looking to rent it out to just artists in general. Of course, I'm set up for ceramic artists, but I could take, painters or whatever kind of artists here. And then let's go over here to the kiln area. I just have one kiln. Just one. I have a kiln, which is pretty awesome. So I shouldn't say just one, but I have one and I'll probably get more as I grow. But this room is in progress too. I need to hook up my kiln vent, which is gonna go right there. And then I was given this little kiln that it's not in working order, but I have that. So whenever I have the time and money to work on that kiln, I will work on that. But yeah, that's pretty much the space. I don't know if you have any questions or.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, I mean, moving, I would think moving, especially a ceramic studio, has got to be quite a task, and especially going from such a small space to such a large space. I mean, what's that change been like for you?
That it's been really weird. It's awesome, but the move itself was a lot, just moving everything. And I had to buy some like shelves and stuff too, because I wanted a lot of shelving and everything, especially for mold production. Having the extra space, I don't always know what to do with the space. I feel like my other space was so small, I got really creative with how to organize things and store things. And here I don't have to like think too hard about how I do that. So it's nice to have the freedom to, kind of put things wherever I want and like leave a station messy, because I don't have to, like, I have other stations where I can do other parts of the process. Whereas in the other studio, I had to clean up all the time. I needed the tables for the next stage. So it's nice.
And it'll be interesting, when you rent the space out, I mean, what that would be like too. I mean, that'll also be kind of a change. And I know, I mean, going from like especially like a school setting where you have that kind of group thing going on, and then going into your own studio or space where it's just you, it'll be interesting to see what that does too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have some people in the studio with me. It gets lonely, so it'll be nice to have creative people to hang out with and talk shop and goof off with.
And I was going to ask too, when you're going, looking at your glazing, I mean, do you have a kind of a set palette, or are you constantly adding new colors, or?
I have mainly a set palette right now, but I do want to add some colors eventually. I'll show you. I have on this cart here. Let me flip the camera again. These are kind of the bottom ones are ones I've mixed up from dry, like from a recipe, and added mason stains, and everything above that bottom line, those are all brushable glazes. I use Mako stroke and coats, but this is kind of the palette that I've been working with. I want to add some more, but I'm not in a rush to do that because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. So
great. Really, really cool to see. And it's interesting. I mean, a few people have mentioned like an allusion to baking, ceramics and baking. And like seeing like those racks, it's like, I can just imagine bread going on them and dough.
Yep.
So,
got that on supply website, so it's made for that.
That's great, really great. And I mean, when you load a kiln, like I saw on Instagram, and I recommend everyone go and look at it, see what it looks like. How many cups were in that kiln load?
86.
Wow.
I had made 87 and I couldn't fit that one. So yeah, 86 cups.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say that's a full one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of work to glaze them all, but we'll do it. We'll make it work.
Yeah, and then getting into glazing, I mean, how long will that process take for that many cups? And is it like I have this plan, I'm going to do all these cups, or is it like I'm going to get to these cups, when I can realistically get to them?
They're right now they're more my priority because I did the pre-order for them, and so I gave a 4 to 6 week timeline for delivery or shipping. So not delivery. So I have about 2 weeks to get those out the door before I hit my 6-week mark. So I'm confident that in 2 weeks I'll have them done. I'm hoping to have them done by the end of next week. So hopefully I'll be a little bit early. But it's nice to have the wiggle room because, if something happens, heaven forbid I, get sick or, something like that, I have some time to work with, and I'm not like gonna be up till 3 a.m. every night. So yeah.
Well, great. Well, thank you for that tour, and we'll see what Laura's studio looks like.
Yeah.
Hi. Okay. I guess I'm gonna start outside the studio, I suppose. Okay, just close your eyes. Okay, so I'm in a rented space. It's a shared space. There's 30 other people here. But it's a mix. So there's artists, there's like a nail salon, a therapist, a like production photo place, and some like professional photographers. But so this is the door, and actually right out the door is like, oops, it's locked. So I'm like right on the street, so which is pretty cool. But this is my window, and I'm like right at the entrance. So I always get people asking me where things are at. So that's kind of fun. And this is also one of the oldest buildings in Raleigh, one of the oldest existing. I should say. I feel like everything's disappearing, but it's pretty cool. It used to be, I guess, it used to be a school supply store, I think, and then before that, it made curtains, like really large theatrical curtains for the East Coast. Kind of crazy, fun fact, I guess. But it's real spooky at night, so I don't go down that hallway at night because it scares me. I have some pretty cool neighbors. Right across from me is Mamie. She does antique jewelry. And then there's a couple other metalsmiths down the hallway, some upstairs. So that's pretty cool. Let's see, I'm gonna turn the camera around now. Okay, and so this is kind of like my entrance. I have all my clay stacked up here. It's so funny when you were talking about your space was really small. I was like, okay, one day I'm gonna be in Liz's position. That's the goal. My space is 150 square foot. So it's small. But yeah, that's mainly why I have all my clay storage out here. But I can double that as a table sometimes when I do First Friday. I like lay a tablecloth across it and and set up stuff there. I also have some of my work sitting on this table. Typically, no one really uses this table. It's usually just has like newspaper and stuff on it. So these are my rejects, so cups that either broke or have defects on them, and I just make them into planters. So that's pretty fun. But yeah, so that's the outside. And I usually have like my studio hours, so if people are wanting to like pop in and look, they can. Then I usually put like updates, like First Friday updates, but I haven't done that yet. And yeah, this is it. So yeah, like I said, it's 150 square foot. When I first got this space, it was 2020, and in my head and my mindset was that I was just going to use it for personal space. I wasn't really thinking of like having people come into the space, but I decided against that, and I was like, once things got a little bit more comfortable, I'm gonna come in here now. I rearranged and essentially just set up this small square or this small section of space as like gallery space, I guess. It was more or less that wall for like earrings and jewelry and things like that, and then this wall for like other things. But right now it just has plants. But really what I do is I really just have jewelry out. If people want to look at mugs or cups or things like that, I just like take them out of their box and show people if they're interested. But yeah, I think I only get it's funny, I only get visitors on Fridays, like mainly people who are like passing through. But the building is kind of like hidden away, so I think that's why there's not like a whole lot of traffic on this side. But either way, it's really nice, and it's really interesting having like such a public facing space because it forces me to clean. So I'm like constantly cleaning. Let me see. Let me tilt it downward a little bit. So I'm constantly cleaning. I actually just cleaned this afternoon. So like Liz was saying, you know, for each space or for each process, I have to clean in between. So this past week, I was making mugs or like making the forms and like making everything. But um, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. So yeah, I was making mugs and everything, and I was in that making process. But then once I finished doing all of that, I have to clean and get this table set up for decorating. And so I'm always cleaning. Um, let's see. Um, yeah, I have a lot of like I have storage space underneath here where I keep all of my extra glazes and things like that, and some clay. Um, Mainly up here is where I keep all of my like decorating, like my main decorating supplies. So my underglazes, my brushes, my all of my tools and things like that. Um, let's see, on this side is all of my work. So this is like all of my works in progress, um, and my bisque molds, my wet boxes, my reclaim, um, even more glazes and slips down here in the bottom. Um, this is also reclaim. This is the worst. Like when you have a small space, you have to sacrifice space eventually at some point for the reclaim. And originally this was sitting on the floor, but I was like, okay, if I put my reclaim on a table, that means I have to do my reclaim quickly so I can have access to that table again. So, so I get, you know, hopefully I'll get to a point where I can do that reclaim. But yeah, reclaim, um, more reclaim. This bottom, yeah, like I said, this bottom is mainly just reclaim and some extra slips. Then bisque molds, wet boxes. This is kind of like an in-between space. So more wet boxes and some things I have to finish up. This row is stuff that I've cleaned and is ready to be decorated. And my mini fridge, my very mini fridge. Um, and then up here in this top row, I have work that has already been burnished and either has slip on them already. So they're the closest to being done. And then way up top is all of my shipping stuff. So I definitely do things in a process. So like once I finish decorating everything, I'll clean again. And usually after I decorate things and glaze everything is when I do my big clean. So my big clean is when I take just about all the furniture out of the studio and put it in the hallway and do a really big mop. It's really hectic, and but because of how small the space is, it just really helps because I can start noticing a different in like my breathing if I don't do that big clean or if I skip that big clean in between batches. Um, so yeah, after the big clean is usually when I get this table set up for photography and packing and all that kind of thing. And so speaking of that, I always once I finish a piece and once I've documented it and weighed it, measured it, etc., I immediately box it up, and then these little boxes are double boxed into a bigger box, and this box has the name written on it, where it's going to written on it, and if it's for a gallery, and also I typically try to put the weight and the size, basically all the information on the outside of the box, so I don't have to mess with it again. Let's see, or go through the pain of like cleaning my table again to like box it up again. Let's see. Yeah, reclaim. Oh, and this is also more like dry storage. So my mason stains, my glaze material, but actually, I recently started getting a local studio to mix my glazes for me. I noticed it was just a lot, again, because of how small my space is. Um, it was just too much of a hassle for me to mix glazes in here. And so I eventually I'll use this stuff again, but right now I have an exterior or a local studio mixing my glazes for me. Let's see. But yeah, mason stains and some extra. These are like some tests that I did, some test slips. So they're not in my palette currently, but maybe one day. And this is kind of like other storage. So like shipping, ribbons, tape, like corks for like when I make soap dispensers or things like that. So yeah, this is like a precarious stacking of storage container of like those storage bins. Let's see, fan. And then my kiln. So I have a little kiln, little baby kiln. This piece can fit about, it can fit a lot of bits, but when it comes to glaze, about 8 mugs for glaze. So I definitely work in small batches. But since I also work at a community studio, I usually rent one of their kilns if I have a really big order. So that's really nice to have access to as well. Let's see, and this is my window. So this is a window that's able to open. It's a really old window, so it's like a crank. I have to crank it open. And yeah, it it does pretty well. Let's see. Oh, this is also some like, so another thing about this particular studio space is that I don't think it was technically a studio space at one point. I'm pretty sure this is like, these walls here are an addition. This seems like it used to be the lobby. My room and my neighbor's room, our lights are actually connected. So if I were to turn the lights off, her lights would also go off, or vice versa. So yeah, I have to be really careful about not accidentally turning the lights off when I leave if she's still here. Um, and so yeah, so there's like, because I think this is an addition, there's like this sliver of space that's like really awkward, but I found ways to like store things there. So mostly my kiln storage, book storage, and some more boxes down here. So this space right here, oops, I keep bumping this thing into things. Oops, okay. Oh yeah, and so this is my textile wall and also just my calendar and like a little whiteboard to help me keep things a little bit organized. But I just finished up a big order, so most of that's cleared off. Let's see. I don't know. I think that's pretty much it for like what the storage space is like. Let's see. But yeah, this is the stuff I'm working on right now. This is the pieces that I just finished up. Some mugs.
Yeah, and I thought it was really cool to see that process of how you pinch that, and I mean, or pinch those. And not being a ceramic artist, I'm sure that more people than just you do it like that in a bowl, right? But for me, I had not seen someone do it in a bowl like that, and I thought it was really interesting. And for people that don't know what I'm talking about, you should check out Laura's Instagram to find out. But I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, for me, when I first started pinching my mugs, I found it really difficult before I did the bowl thing. I found it really difficult to keep them looking consistent. And so having the same rounded foot helps me, there's some type of like, I guess, cohesion cohesiveness between, the whole batch. So that helps. And plus it just, it looks nice. It feels nice. Oh, I guess, let's see. Actually, I'm going to take it off of this thing because this is really awkward to hold. Okay. Oh, and then, so this is kind of like my shipping station, I guess, and it's a different, it's like for little things, like if someone were and they wanted to buy something, this is like quick grab bags, my stickers, my business cards, etc. And then here I have like my little tiny POS system. And yeah, just this table is, I try to always keep clean, no clay on this table. So because it's nice when I have some space to work in here for like if I need to work on the computer. It's nice to have a dedicated space or a dedicated clean space. Oh, and this is actually, so this big trash bag, someone donated to me a bunch of packing peanuts that they got from an order from one of these studios up here, which was really nice. But yeah, so that's that. I'm working on a bunch of earrings actually, because as you can see, I'm completely out of of all jewelry and things like that. Let me see. Oh yeah, I guess I can show. Here's some pieces. These just need to be carved next. Okay. But yeah, I think that's just about it.
Yeah, no, and it's really cool to see, I think like, Liz moving into this larger space and then you kind of being settled into the smaller space. I think it really gives people, a couple different vantage points for what it's like for a ceramic artist, which I think is really, really interesting. And I think that you don't have the award for smallest studio from the show so far, because I think that Mark Errol's studio is like the back room in Plow Gallery, and it's
Oh
like
wow.
it's like a little table. And if you haven't watched it, you got to see that studio tour because it's really cool. And he also gives a tour of the gallery. But it's like this little, like a tabletop, and then there's like some stuff in the back, and like that's it. It's like the little tabletop area, and it's so I think that he gets the award for smallest studio space.
Oh wow. I mean, yeah. I mean, like when you think about how most potters start out, they start out in a community studio. So most of your work or most of your supplies are limited to a box, you know? So
And now that you say that, maybe Yoshi Fuji might actually be the smallest because he is in a community space at Baltimore Clay Works, and his is that, kind of very small footprint. So
right.
But it's so cool to see what everyone, their production out of a small space or a big space. I mean, I think obviously the size of the kiln has a big amount to do with things, how fast you can fire things. But it's really interesting to see what kind of work comes out of different studios. So this has been a really interesting thing for me, to see all the different studios that people have. So well, it's been really great. And I appreciate you both coming on again for a second event and showing your spaces. And for anyone curious about the different things we talked about on their Instagram post, follow these artists on Instagram, see what they're doing, see what they continue to be up to even after the Cup Show is over at Main Street Arts. And head over to our website, mainstreetartscs.org, to see remaining cups that are left by these two artists, as well as the other additional 18 artists in the show. And definitely learn more about the artists, look at the work, definitely recommend buying the work and enjoying it afterwards. So thank you both again, and good luck with everything going on in your respective studios.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on here. It's been fun.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, have a good night.
Bye.